The calm before Willowbrook was a town where nothing much happened, the kind of place where people prided themselves on knowing their neighbors. Among them, Kate Lawson stood out, not because she sought attention, but because she embodied the quiet, pleasant rhythm of the town. A schoolteacher in her early 30s, Kate lived alone in a cozy cottage at the edge of town. Her days followed a simple routine. She taught during the day, jogged through the park in the early mornings, and spent her evenings curled up with a book by the fire. Her life was peaceful, predictable, and satisfying. But all of that would change on an otherwise ordinary autumn evening. It started with a phone call. Kate had just returned from a day at school, still wearing the comfortable wool sweater she'd thrown on in the chilly morning. Her kettle had just started to whistle when the phone rang. She glanced at the clock. It was late for an unsolicited call, 8:30 p.m. She answered without thinking. "Hello?" she said, her voice cautious. There was silence on the other end for a moment before a distorted voice crackled through the line. "Tomorrow, your life changes." The words sent a chill through Kate. She instinctively pulled her sweater tighter around her shoulders. "Who is this?" she asked, her voice rising slightly in tension. The line went dead. She stared at the phone for a few seconds, her heart racing. The logical side of her mind told her it was probably a prank call, nothing to be concerned about. Maybe some local kids messing around, she reasoned. Yet the tone of the voice, unnatural and cold, lingered in her mind. It was unsettling. Trying to shake off the unease, she poured herself some tea and sat in her usual spot by the window, looking out into the darkening street. The familiar view of her quiet neighborhood offered little comfort. The air felt heavier than usual, the silence outside unnatural. Before going to bed, she double-checked the locks on her doors and windows, something she rarely did. Despite her efforts to calm herself, a sense of foreboding clung to her. Little did she know, this would be her last peaceful night in Willowbrook. Tomorrow, everything would change, a murder unveiled. The next morning, Willowbrook awoke to a grim discovery that shattered its peaceful veneer. Kate Lawson, the town's beloved schoolteacher, was found dead in her cottage. It was her neighbor, Mrs. Harding, who noticed something was wrong. On her way to the market, she spotted Kate's front door, slightly ajar. Concerned, she called out but received no response. With a growing sense of dread, she stepped inside. There, on the living room floor, Kate lay motionless. Her body was positioned almost delicately, as if she had simply fallen asleep. But the broken coffee cup beside her, its contents spilled in a wide arc, hinted at something far more sinister. Nearby, a rose, perfectly red and freshly cut, was placed carefully on the windowsill, an odd and unsettling detail in an otherwise ordinary room. The police were called immediately. Detective Samuel Pierce, a seasoned investigator with a reputation for leaving no stone unturned, arrived at the scene shortly after. The small town of Willowbrook rarely saw violent crime, and this murder was unlike anything he'd encountered in his years on the force. As Samuel surveyed the room, he noticed the eerie stillness that clung to the air. There were no signs of forced entry, no struggle. Everything appeared oddly serene, save for the lifeless body on the floor. The phone, resting on a table next to Kate's hand, drew his attention. He checked the call log and found a disturbing clue. The last call, placed just the night before, came from a blocked number. Samuel's mind raced. Whoever had called her last might have been the killer, someone who wanted Kate to know her fate was sealed before the act was carried out. The mysterious phone call suggested that this was not a random attack, it was premeditated. As he questioned neighbors and examined Kate's life, everyone seemed to echo the same sentiment. Kate had no enemies. She was kind, quiet, and had lived an uneventful life. But the rose, placed so carefully in the window, told a different story. It suggested that whoever did this knew Kate personally, that this act was deliberate and perhaps even symbolic. The investigation was just beginning, but Samuel already knew that beneath the surface of Willowbrook's calm exterior lay dark secrets waiting to be uncovered. Secrets in the shadows. As Detective Samuel Pierce delved deeper into Kate Lawson's life, the image of the quiet, unassuming schoolteacher began to fray. What seemed like a peaceful existence concealed secrets that would soon complicate the investigation. The first crack appeared when Samuel discovered Kate had been involved in a heated dispute with a local businessman, Richard Harlan. Harlan, a wealthy developer, had his sights set on expanding a project near Kate's cottage. She was strongly opposed to it, worried that the construction would disrupt the tranquility of the neighborhood. The two had exchanged several tense letters over the matter. To Samuel, this feud seemed more than just a disagreement over land. It had a personal edge. He confronted Richard, who denied any involvement in Kate's death, insisting their arguments were business, nothing more. Still, Richard's temper was well known, and Samuel couldn't dismiss him as a suspect. Next, Samuel uncovered a more startling revelation. Kate had been involved in a secret relationship with a younger man, Alex Ford, a former student of hers. The relationship had ended quietly months before her death, but it was clear Alex had not moved on. Neighbors reported seeing him near Kate's house in recent weeks, often late at night, watching her cottage from afar. When Samuel questioned him, Alex seemed nervous, torn between lingering affection and guilt. He insisted their breakup had been amicable, but his obsession with Kate suggested otherwise. Then there was Lily, Kate's closest friend, who had been acting increasingly erratic. Lily had once dated Alex before he became involved with Kate, and the overlap of their relationships had strained their friendship. Samuel sensed that Lily's outward grief masked a deeper resentment, perhaps even jealousy. In interviews, she deflected questions about Alex and their past, but her unease didn't go unnoticed. Each of these suspects had reasons to harm Kate. Richard, driven by anger over her interference in his business; Alex, a jilted lover, unable to let go; and Lily, a betrayed friend, seething with jealousy. But Samuel knew there was something else, something connecting these three figures in a way he hadn't yet uncovered. The murder was no random act, but a deliberate choice by someone close to Kate. As he sifted through layers of deception, Samuel felt the truth inch closer, lurking in the shadows of their tangled relationships. The final twist: Detective Samuel Pierce was running out of time. The three suspects, Richard, Alex, and Lily, each had motives, but none of their stories fit perfectly. Something was missing. It wasn't until he found Kate's old diary tucked away in a drawer that everything clicked into place. Among the mundane entries, one stood out, a cryptic note written just a week before her death. "The one who knows me best will hurt me worst," Kate had scribbled. It was a chilling clue, one that pointed Samuel in a new direction. Returning to the suspects, Samuel focused on Lily, Kate's closest friend. At first glance, Lily had seemed broken by Kate's death, devastated by the loss. But Samuel knew the deepest betrayals often came from those closest to us. Lily had known about Kate's relationship with Alex for months, even before their friendship started to deteriorate. Despite Kate's efforts to keep the affair hidden, Lily had found out, and the discovery had shattered her. Re-interviewing Lily, Samuel pressed her harder. At first, she maintained her innocence, but her facade began to crack. In a moment of weakness, she revealed the truth. She had been in love with Alex long before he and Kate began their affair, and the betrayal by her best friend was too much for her to bear. Though Kate had ended things with Alex months before her death, Lily's jealousy had festered, evolving into something darker. On the night of the murder, Lily confronted Kate at her cottage. The two had a heated argument. Lily accused Kate of stealing Alex from her, of betraying their friendship. But Kate, tired and indifferent, refused to apologize. It was in that moment, overcome with rage, that Lily acted. She had brought a vial of poison, intending only to frighten Kate, to make her suffer as she had. But when Kate refused to back down, Lily slipped the poison into her drink. As Kate collapsed, Lily panicked but tried to stage the scene, leaving the rose as a twisted reminder of their lost friendship. Tearfully, Lily confessed. She never intended for things to go this far, but jealousy had driven her to a breaking point. Samuel, while sympathetic to the emotions behind the crime, knew there was no excusing the murder. Lily was arrested, her life forever changed by the terrible choice she made. In the end, Willowbrook would never be the same. The murder of Kate Lawson revealed the hidden darkness behind seemingly ordinary lives. The peaceful town had been torn apart by secrets, lies, and the most devastating betrayal, one between friends.